Okay, just a tiny bit of color theory here. Now, with color, any color you can see, or any hue, because hue and color, they mean the same thing. Any color you can see can have two things affecting it, one or both. It can be different levels of bright or muted, and that's the hue's level of saturation, as it's called, saturation. There's also different steps from light to dark. That's a color's value. Now, with this in mind, this way of looking at color, which is, it's an excellent way to look at color, because really the only three things going on with color are its hue, its saturation, and its value. With this in mind, and to make this book as practical and directly useful to designers and illustrators as possible, what I've done is I've presented one palette per page in 4 different versions. What this does is it gives you, the designer, the illustrator, the artist, the chance to choose whichever version of a set of colors best reflects the kind of mood and the kind of theme that you're aiming for. So, you might use the bright palette if you're going for an energetic look or a youthful look or an action-packed sort of look for a palette. Or maybe you'll go with the muted palette if you want to restrain things, get a little more sophisticated, a little more laid back, or dark and moody, or light and kind of fluffy and pastel-y. I don't know. But you got these 4 options for each page. Take your pick, which version suits the theme and the mood that you're going for. There's another thing at work here too. With these 4 versions of a palette to choose from, you can also make certain practical calls when you're working on a piece of art. Like, say, you want to print a dark headline or some dark text over a colored backdrop. Well, if you're going to do that, then you're probably going to want to use light colors behind the dark words, right? And the reverse is also true. Dark colors help light text stand out. And I should mention, it's perfectly okay here to grab colors from like the dark palette on a page and use those for, say, a backdrop. Then you grab a light hue or a bright hue from the brighter or lighter palette, and you use those for, say, the foreground color for type, something like that. Feel free to choose freely from the 4 palettes on a page, whatever your art sense tells you is right for a project. Now, I will say that this 4 versions of a color scheme per page is probably my favorite upgrade for the new Color Index book. The earlier books, yeah, they definitely had tons of light, dark, bright, and muted palettes, but they weren't variations of the same set of colors. So that's a neat upgrade for this book, a little bit more usable, a little more practical, and give you some more flexibility to mix and match colors as you see fit. Another thing is that the new book's colors, they go right up to the edges of their pages. So this not only gives you a really big eyeful of color to consider, it also makes it possible to set a page right next to, say, another piece of art or another color scheme, for easy comparison. Plus, I really like the way these to-the-edge palettes affect the way the book looks when it's closed. It's kind of cool. And it makes it easy when you just want to fan along the edges of the pages when taking a quick look for ideas. All right, that's all I've got for you here. In the next video, I'm going to talk about a favorite sort of palette of mine. It's called a punch palette, or at least that's what I call it. I'm going to, first of all, tell you what these things are. Then I'm going to tell you how you can build them, what they might be good for, and also, optionally, how you might be able to use a book like this to help you build these kinds of palettes.